Welcome back. In this week's episode, we discuss the police disbanding the protests in Canada and in Israel, Russia versus Ukraine, and Kyle Rittenhouse suing LeBron and Biden. I'm Rody,
And I'm Ryan.
and this is the Right Side of the Compass podcast. All right, Ryan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. The weather is all right. I'm ready for spring. Are you ready for spring?
Well, I don't know about you, but I actually kind of like the cold. I'm a big cold guy,
You're a
so
cold guy?
yeah.
Oh.
I'm like I was born in spring, so I kind of have my foot in both camps. I like the cold, but I'm fine with the warm. So I'm just
No, I understand the idea because you can always put on more layers and there's only
yeah,
so many layers you could take off, at least for the heat.
yeah.
But I mean, I personally just like the hot better. It's just, you know,
At some point it just becomes too hot, and I just feel all schwitzy. It's just it's gross.
anyways, so we want to have more discussions and, we can only do that with your help, dear listeners. So, please like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel. In addition, we are available to listen where all your favorite podcasts are found. You can also reach out to us by commenting on our videos or reaching out to us on Instagram at the Right Side of the Compass. This would be a great help. And if you want to support independent creators such as ourselves, this is the best way you can do so. So let's jump right into it, to the first topic. So Canada, after, a few, was it like a week ago, Trudeau announced saying that there were enacting the, was it Emergency Act? And basically they're cracking down on the protesters in Canada, and in other countries are doing the same. So like for example, Israel also, it wasn't as big as Canada, but they also decided to have the police. They sent the police in there and kind of disbanded the protest. So so what do you think about all that, Ryan?
Right. So first of all, it's important to note that even though he was Trudeau, that is, even though Trudeau was, cracking down, quote unquote, on these protests, it NPR reports that he did revoke the emergency powers. So even though these deplorable terrorists were destroying the streets of Canada, it seems to be over for at least the government. Um, so that's at least good to hear that they're not using the emergency powers on the protesters as of this moment. But in terms of him, when he was using his emergency powers to crack down on them, it's obviously very tragic. For the past 2 years, we've been enduring peaceful protests, as it were. And so now that we actually do have obviously peaceful protests with quotations that our listeners can't hear us, but my quotation marks are in the air. But now that we actually do have peaceful protests, they're just honking, having a good time, and all that. It's tragic to see a government, just really take peaceful protesting and destroy it to, and not destroy, that's not the right word, more of I guess use it as a scapegoat for their political regime. It's just tragic. And even some of the Hollywood left is calling it out. What's that Marvel actress's name, plays the Wasp in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Evangeline Lilly, a native born Canadian. She posted a video condemning, saying she didn't even condemn. She just kind of said, "Hey Trudeau, these are your people. As much as you don't want to admit it, these are your people. And even if they're wrong," I think she even said, I'm not sure. I watched it and I don't remember exactly everything she said.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
but she said, like, you just have to sit down and talk to them. These are the people that whether you like it or not, these are the people you rule over, and you need to go sit down with them. So she's now getting calls to be canceled, obviously,
Really?
because we
Wow.
can't have dissent. Yeah, it's really tragic. So yeah, obviously it's sad to see, but nothing we couldn't have imagined, you know.
So I also noticed some, I guess, reports, and there was like a tweet that I have here that of someone showing that it says here the hashtag Freedom Convoy is gone, and downtown Ottawa is a secure zone, even though there are police patrolling our streets en masse. Starling Restaurant in the market was robbed. The robber hit them at night, then again during the day. If you recognize this person, please contact the police. So there have been, I guess, reports of crimes, and that the police is focusing more on the protests or these peaceful protesters who aren't necessarily doing a crime, and now they're less focused on the like actual crime out there. So do you believe that the case? That do you think that they're so low on manpower, because they're focusing on, the protests?
Well, I mean, there's always what to be said that the Canadian police force rides in on horses, or caribou. No, but are they
Aren't they called
low on
Mounties?
forces? What?
Aren't they called Mounties?
Yeah, the Mounties. That's super intimidating, by the way. When I see a guy wearing a red, riding a moose, it's super intimidating. Um, no, but I mean, are they low on manpower? I'm sure they have way more. Let me put it this way: if Trudeau wanted to really seriously fight the Freedom Convoy, he would use literally every single dollar that the government had to stop the Freedom Convoy, which he essentially did with the Emergency Powers Act. But now that we have other crime, I mean, it's not as important. Theft is not as important as honking. So, honestly, if would you rather be robbed or honked at?
I don't know. Honking is, I don't know. Have you ever been on the road? Honking is a crime to me. I don't know about you. It's just like, when someone's
You
honking
know what?
behind
That's
me.
fair. Like when someone honks at me, I feel like getting out of the car and starting a riot. Yeah, that honestly, that's fair. But yeah, no. So like again, this Trudeau, this is just more of this Trudeau really is Trudeau really being faithful to the Canadian people. Look, I'm as with Luke, who unfortunately is not here today. I'm not the biggest fan of Canada, but I will say that the past few weeks have shown me that the Canadian people, or at least the freedom-loving Canadian people, they really got America in their heart. Um,
That there's some hope.
there's some hope for them. There's some hope, a tiny glimmer of hope for Canada, as small as it is. But yeah, like again, doesn't surprise me that he's being not so tough on other crime because he has to deal with the immediate pertinent threat of honking. Um, you know, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. Canada, Trudeau's gonna Trudeau. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are there
But
term limits in Canada? Like
I'm
when
not
is
sure.
Trudeau gonna be replaced?
Sorry, I'm not so knowledgeable in Canadian politics. Uh, nor do they have term limits. And instead, they can stay in office as long as the government has the confidence of a majority in the House of Commons of Canada under the system of responsible government.
Well,
So it
that's
seems like
unfortunate.
there's a big no.
That's unfortunate. All right.
Although I do hear reports, Trudeau, public, what's his uh, what's it called? I'm blanking out on polling poll numbers. That's not the right word. Trudeau's no failing grade approval. There it is. Thank God. That took way too long. Approval rating. Uh, Low approval rating for Joe Biden. Survey results about Trudeau. 40% of Canadians, according to PolitiFact, which is no right-wing conservative bastion of of conservatism. Apparently, only want to think the prime minister has made them want to vote for him because of how he has dealt with the situation. Apparently. So it looks like this isn't even popular among Canadians. Trudeau, that being Trudeau's response is not. popular among Canadians. Um, but actually, I want to also take a quick look at the Israeli Freedom Convoy that you mentioned earlier. I didn't really know much about it. I saw a video. You see stuff every now and again. I saw a video of them driving down one of the highways in Jerusalem. I've read an article about them, stopping at a midpoint between Tel Aviv and Israel, and Jerusalem, and setting up their freedom convoy there, which was stopped by the police promptly because we can't have dissenting views in Israel. Um, so similar, I don't think that. In fact, I know that been no declaration of emergency powers declared by the Israeli government over these convoys, which is at least comforting that they're not, saying these are murderous psychopaths like Trudeau is saying. But it's also the police came in. The reports say that the police came in without a warrant, and they just kind of started throwing stuff around and confiscating stuff. Um, so yeah, that's sad to see. Also, just to finish up the report, there are in the Israeli government, there are people who are back government officials who are backing the Freedom Convoy. I'm just getting the names up in a second.
I think also part of it is because they're already relaxing the mandates. So it's
Yeah,
like
that's
there's no
probably also
need
part of
to
it.
protest anymore. Like I know Israel's opening up again the airport and letting, tourists back into the country without doing, insane amount of paperwork. So
Right.
and you see this, all around places like even New York and all these other countries are relaxing their mandates
That's true.
because of the protests, maybe not. I don't know if it's because of the protests, but um if they are relaxing the protests, it's like, well, look, you're stopping traffic, you're affecting the economy, like, okay, we're already relaxing the mandates. If there's other things they want to get done, that's a different story, because I know the protesters in Israel were demanding some other things. But yeah, I guess, like, eventually, like, it's like we get the point, and it's like, how far? It's like, how long do you need to stay
But
there?
what I think is important is that they're allowed to protest it. It's not.
I understand that. And unfortunately, Canada and Israel are authoritarian governments, and you don't have rights, you have privileges. And the fact of the matter is like, they could just send in the police to just disband
Yeah.
you, if
It
they
says here
want.
that they just came in. The police just came in without a warrant. Then they just
That's
started.
the thing. They don't need one. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Unlike, in America, I don't really know the law in America, but, like, there's usually more red tape that people need to go through in order to, to actually do something. Um, Unless, it's like, the BLM riots where, buildings are on fire and, you know,
Right.
but,
Oops.
if
Sorry.
it's a peaceful protest, I would assume, you need to get approval, at least here, but I could be wrong. If anyone knows the answer, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
but going on to the next topic, I wanted to actually talk about Kyle Rittenhouse before we got to Russia and Ukraine. Um, and so apparently what's happening there. So we all, if you don't know the story, I'm sure you've heard of the story of Kyle Rittenhouse, in that whole situation where he was defending himself, and then he went to court and he was defending himself during a BLM riot, but he didn't even kill a black person, he killed a white person. And then they said he was innocent, and then Biden and LeBron were essentially calling him racist, even though um he clearly isn't. And they were defaming him, so he went ahead and he wanted to sue them. But yeah, Ryan, you want
Right. So about Kyle Rittenhouse, um, yeah. So it's important to note a couple of things. Also, one of the craziest things that actually got me was that Kyle Rittenhouse actually supports BLM. He supports their message. Um,
Yeah, I remember when you said that. I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah, I
that's
think he went
interesting."
on Crowder and he said, either Crowder or one of these right right leaning entertainment platforms, and he said, "Oh yeah, I actually support." Yeah, I think it was Crowder. He went and he said, "Yeah, I actually supported BLM," which was absolutely insane because he went there. Just another tidbit. He went there on, I think, I'm pretty sure, on call to assist with medical assistance. Assist with medical assistance. Look at my great English over there. Um, and so yeah, so he went to assist with medical needs and stuff, and he only brought the gun as a last line of defense. He really didn't want to use it at all. And then who is it? The Rosenbaum, Rosenbaum. I should be. I'm Jewish. I could say his name properly. Rosenbaum. Right. It's just the prosecutor's name. The prosecutor was just like, yeah, Mr. Rosenbaum, and I just love that.
It's Baum.
So yeah, get that right. Come on, you have one
Come
job.
on.
Know your guy's name. So yeah, three people were chasing him. One hid behind a car while he was running by in order to get behind him, and then they got him on the ground. They started hitting him, and only then did he pull out the gun and he shot two of them. He shot two of them fatally, and the third one was just like, "Hey, I'm just trying to, had his hands up, I think." And you're gonna say, well, that looks bad if he shoots him, but then he tried to reach for the gun, so Kyle shot him in the arm. And all these lefties who say, oh yeah, you should shoot, but not fatally if you're gonna use a gun. Well, we see what happens when you try to do that. They still come after you anyway. So
Yeah.
what's the point?
And then essentially what happened was, during the trial when he actually went up to talk about it, he started, crying and he broke down, and
Yeah.
LeBron made a tweet, saying like, oh, he ate lemons like before, and racist, this, that,
Yeah, and Joe Biden
and
had
then
what to say, and Whoopi
yeah,
Goldberg
Biden
had
did
to
the
what to
same
say.
thing. And so because of, this, because, these are very, LeBron is one of the, best basketball players in the NBA. And then you have the president of the United States,
Yeah,
defaming you like that. It's just
it's
even after,
demoralizing.
yeah, afterwards he was thinking of changing his name because
Yeah,
he just all these death threats. So the fact
yeah.
that they defamed him like that, it was just terrible. And so he's actually thinking of suing them. Um, I think according to the article it says he wants to. I don't think he actually went ahead and did it yet.
Well, yeah. So once you're declared innocent, which is this is the crazy part, he was already declared innocent. So of all people, you would think Joe Biden would realize, like, the guy who's supposed to be, the upholding law of the land, who's better than Trump in every way, except for the fact that he can't think, doesn't know where he is, doesn't know who he is, can't read a teleprompter, doesn't know how to answer a question. Besides for all that, you would think that Mr. Joe Biden would be able to realize, hey, this guy was declared innocent. Maybe I shouldn't put my half of his, I would say 2 cents, but he probably doesn't even have that much going on in his brain. So he wouldn't be able, you shouldn't put his half of a cent into the conversation. But Joe Biden, the, most popular president in history, please don't question the election at all, please. He had to put his 2 cents in there, and he defamed Mr. Kyle
Which
Rittenhouse. And
is
so,
something I've noticed about media and the left and these type of people in general, is that they very much a lot of time jump to conclusions before they get all the facts.
mhm,
Or a lot, the point of news and media is you want to be the first one to get you want people to watch your stuff, okay?
right.
And in order to get people to watch your stuff, okay, these type of news, you want to be the first one to get it, because if you're the first one to get the information out,
Then
okay,
you're the
then I'm good.
breaking story.
Yeah, then
You're
I'm
who's
gonna
got it.
watch you. But the problem with that is then you sometimes you'll be wrong sometimes with the information, or you just won't have all the information because you're boom boom boom, you're trying
Right.
to get the information out as fast as possible. And because of that, I feel that they jump to conclusions a lot,
Right.
especially and I could And especially with the president of the United States and LeBron, first of all, they're not looking into the information. They're way too busy. Okay.
Hmm.
The president is focusing on 50 different things at once, international relations, national, uh, this state, that state. He's doing 20, 30, 50 different things. The last thing he's doing is taking the time to, watch videos and to look into the court.
Kyle
So,
Rittenhouse.
and same thing with LeBron. He's a basketball player and he's a famous person. I'm sure he's busy also. So, like, they obviously don't have time to look into this stuff. So if you don't have time to look into this stuff, then don't state an opinion on it based off
Well,
of no facts. If you obviously know you have no time to look into it.
yeah. Well, that's probably why they put their 2 cents into it, because the people who actually have opinions and actually take the time to look into things, they're not so. I mean, now that I'm saying it, it's pretty obvious. But the people who take time to look into things don't just jump and say this guy's a white supremacist. They see that, hey, there was more than just white guy shoots black guy, even though there was no black guy. There was never any black guy at all. He shot 3 white people. Which I hate to be the guy who focuses on the race, but if we're gonna focus on the race, they were all white. I really don't understand this.
I think it was the fact that he went to a BLM,
Right.
riot. That's what they're talking about.
Interesting. I saw a video. One of the guys who he shot was flagrantly and without regard just using the N-word. Totally white and just using the N-word. So I guess we're backing that now. So yeah. And so in terms of the lawsuits, they seem like slam dunks to me. I'm not a law aficionado. I can't tell you exactly everything that's going on, but it seems like from what I hear, it seems like he's got slam dunks. Ironically, on LeBron James. Will he be the first person to slam dunk on LeBron James? I don't know. I don't know enough basketball history, but it seems like he's got at least legs to stand on. I can't say slam dunk, but he's got at least legs to stand on. So this should be interesting if these actually go through. I'll definitely be watching them. Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
You know what it kind of reminds me? It really reminds me of that time when you remember that protest with Native Americans in front of the
Nick Sandman.
What was it?
Nick Sandman.
Nick Sandman. That was his name.
Yeah, he was the teenager who went to the Catholic high school, and the guy was drumming in his face, and he was just smiling, and everyone was quick to call him a white supremacist.
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of what it reminds me of, and so the Washington Post just went after this person, defaming him, and
CNN also went after Sandman, I think, and he won that case. He sued CNN, and I think he won.
Yeah, no, so it says here that they settled $250 million dollars for defaming him.
And actually, I think funny about that is I think Mr. Doughboy Brian Stelter actually went after him again after they lost, and I think he sued. I'm pretty sure he sued them again. I can't confirm that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that he doubled down on it because they kept going after him, and I'm sure someone at CNN was like, "Hey, dude, shut." They went over to Brian Stelter and they were like, "Dude, shut up," because he kept slamming them in court, and I think he kept winning. I can't confirm completely, but I'm pretty sure I saw that that Brian Stelter was going after him again, and he was like, "All right, keep going. I'll keep suing you." So yeah, and there's just a lot of fun stuff going on at CNN, which is a total side point, but so much sex scandals going on over there. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens with those lawsuits if they go through. I wish him the best of luck. And I hope he gets a lot of money out of it.
Yeah. What did Palpatine say in episode 1? He said, "I'll be watching your career with great enthusiasm," or something. When he saw Anakin Skywalker, he's like, "I'll be watching your career with great enthusiasm." I feel like Emperor Palpatine right now.
We'll see what happens there, and we'll definitely let you guys know, if there are any updates. with that. But now for the big news of the week, which
Oh,
you know, if if you haven't heard this, then you're living under a rock. Okay, okay, we all
pretty
know.
much. Oh, wait, no, maybe they were, no, you can't, don't, maybe they were waiting for our news podcast to tell them the
ah
news.
we
So,
thank you, guys. Oh my God, we love you. Love you so
yeah.
much.
But if you
But
haven't heard, then
they
this
probably
is
heard like on Facebook and stuff. like when you're watching a Marvel movie and stuff, and people like if you don't see it in the first week, then there are like spoilers on
right.
on
So
Facebook.
maybe they saw it there. Yeah. So we'll hope that you guys are not getting spoiled here. But spoiler
But
alert:
spoiler alert.
the world is in the middle of World War III, and we're just sitting through it.
Yeah, so Russia decided to invade Ukraine. It's funny, they don't want Ukraine to be part of Russia. They want to replace the government with a
Right.
a government that will listen to Russia more. Kind of like what's the other one next to it? It's Belarus. Sorry.
Belarus.
So Bessie, you know about Belarus. There's kind of a dictator there, and he's very obedient to Russia. So essentially, they want to do the same thing. They want to replace the government because Ukraine's kind of, been a bad boy, and Daddy doesn't like that. So,
Who's
you know,
Zelensky? Zelensky?
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
he's
so if you are one of the people who are waiting for our podcast, thank you so much. Um, um, Basically, if you don't know, the basically this whole thing started because Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and Russia doesn't want that because essentially after the Soviet Union broke up, he made these um, different they made these different countries or states to kind of be a buffer between Europe and Russia. Um, and so if Ukraine joins NATO, then there'll be American troops on the border, right by the border of Russia, which they don't want. And, you know, Putin was like, well, this is, not fair because essentially NATO was created during the Soviet Union, and
right.
NATO was made to combat the Soviet Union, but when the Soviet Union fell, you would think, hey, they don't need NATO anymore because the Soviet Union fell. So Putin's argument is like, well, I'm being hostile because NATO is a threat to me, and they shouldn't be a threat to me because hey, like the Soviet Union is not a thing anymore. But NATO is still there, and America's part of NATO, and they don't want American troops on on the border. So he basically threatened, that he would invade Ukraine if they don't stop it, and essentially people like thought it was a bluff. In today's world, you don't really see a lot of countries invading countries anymore. Like not big countries. You don't see like war between two countries anymore. It's I think the last one was what, like Vietnam or something.
You're saying like big world spanning fights, or like,
Yeah.
because I mean
So
we see Israel fighting, other countries all the time,
you're
unfortunately.
right. I guess
But
there
it's not
are.
like, it's not in terms of conquest.
No, but
Israel's
it's
not
not
trying to
it's
claim
not
more
country
land.
against countries. It's Israel versus terrorist groups, but it's not country versus country. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 6 Day War was
Well, yeah, in like what,
literally the entire Middle
19
East.
yeah, but that was in 1967. Okay, when was the
True.
Vietnam War? 70, 80s.
Also,
I don't know.
60s.
Was it 60s, 70s?
95% sure it was the 60s. 1955 to April 30th. Come on, just one more word. Wikipedia,
One
you're
more
failing me
year.
here. Oh, wow. It was actually literally a 20-year war. It was November 1st, 1955 to April 30th, 1975. So a 20-year war spanning
Yeah,
the entire
so
60s. So I wasn't wrong. Wasn't wrong.
but anyways, you haven't really seen a lot of this, and because we're so interconnected with technology, it's like it's
Right.
much easier to have conversations and to talk to one another. And essentially, and because every country out there, not every country out there, but a lot of countries out there have nuclear power. Okay, they don't want to start a war because
There's actually only 9 technical nuclear powers. There's only 9, I think. If
you're
America,
saying
Russia,
technical, like
no,
ones
no, no.
we
I
know
mean
of.
countries. Let me be more specific. There are 9 legally defined uh, nuclear powers in the world right now. Uh, I'm pretty. Let me just go through them. It's America, Russia, China, Israel, Turkey, India. List of states with nuclear weapons. Let me be more specific. It's America. Uh, name 1 second. I know them. I let me. I'm in the
You
middle
got
of a
this.
class on this, so
You got this.
I hope my teacher's not listening because
Oh
she'll call
yeah,
me out.
yeah. You mentioned that. What
Yeah,
class
so
are you? What
it's
class are you taking?
it's called weapons of mass destruction, and it focuses on nuclear weapons, bioweapons, and chemical weapons.
Sounds like a
So
great class.
so here we have United States, Russia, United Kingdom, so England, France, China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. Those are the countries with um, that are considered quote unquote to be the nuclear powers of the world. Now they're broken up into separate categories. There's like the 5 main superpowers, which is the first 5 that are listed: United States, Russia, England, France, and China. Um, that they're part of the NPT, the non prolif. This word always gets me. Prolif. Come on. Proliferation. Thank you. Non-proliferation treaty. Um, then there's the second group, which is the second set of 3 that I listed, which is India, Pakistan, and North Korea. Those are not under the NPT, non-proliferation treaty. And then there's Israel, which Israel is the most interesting, obviously, because it's Israel. They don't declare that they have nuclear weapons, but everyone knows that they have nuclear weapons, but they're not declaring that they have it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a brilliant move by obviously it's a brilliant move by Israel because technically they don't on paper they don't have it, but they do. So
Oh my God,
um,
there was a really funny comedian. I forgot. He was talking about how like it's funny because you're saying how Israel doesn't actually claim they have, but everyone knows. And then he was talking about North Korea, where it's like, oh, we're making nuclear weapons, and we have them pointed at you, and we're gonna fire them. And everyone's like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
uh,
And
yeah.
just to prove that you don't, okay, we're gonna make movies taunting you to shoot them at us.
Yeah. So it's just a very interesting situation what's going on. And I think what's going on right now because of Biden's great leadership, Iran is also working on their nuclear program, which is scary for me as an American who loves Israel. Um, so there's that. Anyways, let's get back slightly more on topic. So yeah, we have a
Yeah.
big
So
invasion
yeah, they
going
don't.
on.
You don't want to go to to war with big countries anymore because the the possibility of the losses, the cost would be greater than the gain,
Mhm.
essentially.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Especially
and
nowadays where everyone's, as you said, everyone's in communication. The optics just look terrible, no matter, even worse than what it maybe did,
yeah, like
back.
during World War II, like you had those type of things because there wasn't really, each country felt separate. But
Right.
I kind of, and that's the thing with like globalism. Like each country kind of feels like it kind of feels like the entire world is a country, and like each country is a state now.
In some
Unlike in
sense,
World War
yeah.
II, where we're all so, even we didn't have communication. I mean, we had communication, just wasn't as efficient as it is today. So
Right.
it's like, I could just make a phone call hit to someone in England and you'll be like, oh, okay, hi, how's it going? It's like,
Right.
while there, you had to do like a telegram and other things. So, it just felt bigger and more separate. And now like the world feels smaller, and, so you just like, you just don't see countries fighting other, going to war with other countries as much. So with that
Right.
said, when someone says, "Hey, I'm going to invade another country," we don't really take them seriously.
Right.
And
And then Russia, and then Putin was like, "But I actually am."
yeah,
And
so
then he
he's like,
did.
"Oh, like, you're not taking me seriously." And I think that's also the point, is he wants people to take him
Right.
seriously. And he also knows America's not going to do anything. Okay.
Right. So this is what I wanted to touch on. I'm having a hard time seeing how this isn't President Biden's fault, because let's look at the past 4 years under the unnamed awful president. There was several things going for the fact that there was not a chance that under Trump, Russia was going to invade. Not a chance. One, Trump is the most unpredictable person possibly to ever grace his orange face on this planet. There is no way to know anything that's going in that man's brain, for good and bad. He could say whatever he
Yeah.
wants, whenever he wants, and that's a great way to keep a country from invading another country. Because either A, you're gonna get applause from Trump, or B, he's gonna nuke you so fast that you won't even know what hit you, and there's no way of knowing. So Putin was kind of on his toes when Trump was in the
Yeah, I
president.
mean, you could say what you want about Trump, but one thing I think he did excellent was, uh, you know, international, relations.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
because his unpredictability.
yeah.
Yeah, his unpredictability was the Trump the Trump card that kept countries in check.
Also, he's just willing to back up his words with action.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that his unpredictability was backed by sincerity. If you do this, I will come after you, and he meant it. There was not a chance Russia was invading. Also, so huge. That's probably the biggest point as to why Russia didn't invade under Trump, where obviously, as opposed to Biden, where he can say something and he can mean it as much as he wants, but there's not a chance it's happening. Second of all, these sanctions that Biden put on were actually Trump era sanctions that were dropped because of Trump put them on, they must be bad. Turns out, surprisingly, Trump did that for a reason. Namely, he wanted to make sure Russia didn't amass an army. And so the fact that Biden is now putting them back on kind of shows you that Trump was a little right.
Yeah, and also it's like it's too late. He already amassed an army.
Exactly. He was right, and you still missed the point. The point was, make sure you stop them from building the army, not now that they have an army, make sure they have no money. They have what they need already. They have the army. That's the point. They have the army.
Yeah. And also,
And
like, they just see what Biden did with Afghanistan, and they kind of just like said, "This guy has no idea what he's doing," and
right,
here's our chance.
right, exactly. That's also true. That the absolute terrible exodus, to borrow a traditionally Jewishly used word, the exodus from Afghanistan, his absolute terrible treatment of that was an indicator to Putin that probably now's the right time to do it, because anyone who shouldn't be here, there's no chance they're getting out, and that's how he's going to cause the most damage. Is if the leader who is supposed to be there for the people cannot be there for the people, that's the time to strike. When if your president has no way of getting you out of the country, and you want to cause damage to Putin's job right now is to, at least in my opinion, Putin's job right now is to indicate to the world that you should not F with him, because he
Yeah,
will
exactly.
he is going to destroy anyone who tries to come up to him. The best way to do that is to make sure that as many people are involved as possible. Whether you want them all to die, I'm not sure. Because once, I don't know, all the Americans are dead, doesn't that just not stop America from invading? I don't know. I'm not a military strategist, but Putin wants as many countries involved in this as possible, but not directly. So having people who are in Ukraine now who are American is good for Putin, because he's kind of holding them hostage for America. And the fact that Biden can't get them out securely or at least he hasn't indicated an ability to do so.
I mean, also, but it doesn't seem like he's going after the citizens specifically. It seems like he's
No,
just
no,
trying to.
no. Because he's not going to say I'm coming after the American citizens, because that would just be blatantly declaring war on America. If Putin tells Biden, "Hey, your citizens are here. I'm going to come for them." Biden's going to take that as a declaration of war. After 30 minutes of trying to remember who the person he's sitting across from is, who he is. So he's going to take that as a declaration of war, and that's gonna actually push America over the edge. Right now, he's sucker punching him. He's saying, "Hey, your people are here. I'm gonna kind of quick jab, see what's going on." And Biden can't really do anything. He's declared sanctions. I think they're having a cyber attack on Russia. There's not really much more they can do. They can't bomb Russia at this point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, because it's also a thing with superpowers. Also, okay, you have like the three superpowers. You have America, Russia, and China. Okay,
Mhm.
if any of those countries go to war with each other, then it's kind of like the end of the world, kind of, because
That's gonna be our third world
so
war that everyone's gonna.
yeah, so
So right now,
that's also a reason why America doesn't want to fight, and Russia knows this, and
right,
because here's the thing, America is like the police of the world, I guess you could say, if because if you're the number one superpower, you know, I guess there's certain responsibilities you
right,
have to the world, I guess, and they know that in the last few decades or years, America has been like after in the 1900s, in early 2000s, America was like very hot, like you don't mess with us, kind
right.
of, and that spark kind of went away a little bit, especially with
Mm.
China catching up with us.
Especially with what?
China catching up with us,
Right. Yeah.
um, and they know that they can start pushing us around because
Right.
we're a dog with a bark but no bite.
Right. Exactly.
And now China's backing up Russia. And what's really bad about this, what I think is actually worse, is not the fact that Russia is taking over Ukraine. I mean, obviously it's bad, and I think everyone should be safe and everything in Ukraine. But by letting Russia take over Ukraine, you're giving the green light for other countries to take
Correct.
over other countries, and more specifically China to take over Taiwan,
Correct.
which
That's
which is
also what's on the
probably a
stage right now.
bigger issue, and probably would affect America more than Ukraine, because I don't know what Ukraine really offers America, but I do know Taiwan makes semiconductors, which America wants to have control over. And if Taiwan is Taiwan, which is America's ally, okay, then America essentially um, has control over the semiconductors. But then if China takes it over, then no. So you're basically, China's looking at this situation very closely, and also Taiwan's looking at this very closely, and
Correct.
seeing what America does, because it really all depends on what America does. Okay.
Correct.
In some odd way, even though like it's really weird, even though it has nothing to do with like America in some sense, because Ukraine versus Russia, and it's part of the EU and NATO. The fact that America is the world power and won't do anything, okay, is, like I said, a green light for other countries to do the same.
Right. And I think a very as I would expect of my co-host, you made a very astute point that not only is this about Russia and Ukraine, this is 100% about China and Taiwan. China is looking at this. They're obviously backing, not obviously. Let me put that more specifically. They're not explicitly backing Russia. They're saying we're kind of not saying this, but for a fact that China's looking at Russia. First of all, they're helping Russia because there's no way that China and Russia are not in cahoots right now. And also, they're looking at this and they're saying, "Hey, Russia's invading Ukraine, which doesn't offer. I mean, which it's just like it's. I mean, there's not really just anything. It's Russia's invading Ukraine. We have this other country that's quote unquote the Asian Ukraine in this scenario. That's the wrong way to put it, but you know what? I've canceled you guys before.
It's like, oh,
So
you have
yeah,
a really
so
nice island over there. It'd be a real shame if
yeah,
something happened to
imagine
it.
if we could just take that over and make it part of us. Um, and so yeah, so as you said, also, um, America can't really do much. They're kind of just until this becomes specifically and deliberately about America. America can't really do much. So China's looking at that and saying, "Hey, we got our eyes on you, Taiwan. We can't really do much.
Well, it's
You
not
can't
even
you can't
Taiwan.
really
It's
do
also
much."
the South China Sea. Also,
Sorry.
it's also the South China Sea. Also,
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot on the table for China right now, and the fact that Biden still is in the middle of changing his diaper to do anything, it's tragic, honestly. Um, yeah, and another thing about Biden's weakness is that I I mean I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I think it's a problem we've been spending the past few years under Biden. Instead of building up the military militarily, which is what you would think you'd want to do, we've been building it up diversely.
yeah,
We have
diversity
diversity
wise.
quotas. We're not projecting strength. We're projecting, hey, we want 50% of our troops to be women. We want 50% of our troops to be gender non-conforming, non-binary. We want 50% of our troops to be black. Instead of just saying, hey, we want the strongest men for the job or strongest women. I don't care. I really don't care. We want the strongest people for the job.
Strongest
I want the
person.
strongest person for the job. And it's indicative of the fact that we've had to lower the standards for entry into the United States military to include uh, weaker groups of people,
Yeah,
physically weaker groups of people. To be more very specific.
yeah. I
Yeah. So,
remember I saw a recruiting video. You see the recruiting video for America. It's like, oh,
oh yeah, I
it
saw
shows.
this.
You saw this?
Yeah, it was
With
like,
with a
go ahead.
girl, and she's very proud of her, I think, homosexual mothers, and that's what makes her want to join the army. It's all like very sunshine and rainbows, and very very happy go lucky kind of place. That's why I want to join the army. And then you cut to the Russian recruiting video. It's like badass jumping out of planes. It's
Jumping out
like
of planes, shooting. It's like crazy. It's like, okay, I kind of want to join the Russian military now.
like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really insane. There's just nothing more to say on that. Biden projects weakness. Trump projected, if not strength, he projected unpredictability. Um, Even though obviously he
No,
did project
literally
strength,
anyone
but
else besides Biden would be bad.
and that's actually a point I wanted to make. I happen to indulge myself every so often in the Tim Pool podcast,
Oh,
and he
really?
made a very astute point. Um, Not very astute actually, more just like kind of true but sad. I kind of would prefer if Kamala Harris were the president at this point. For
Really?
no other reason other than the fact that she's one crazy
Chick.
psychopath. She's one crazy dude, and I use the word dude loosely. There is no way to predict what she's going to do. She's going to laugh at you after telling you that she's going to bomb you, and she's just crazy. Biden
Because
is
she's
a
the Joker?
sleepy. What?
Because she's the Joker?
She is honestly. I'm scared of her. Like if she were to show up to my house, I would be more
Piss my
scared than
pants.
like, yeah, dude. I wouldn't. I would not be able to handle
With
it.
that fake
Um,
smile.
dude, she's so creepy, bro. It's
So creepy. Like,
crazy.
she's literally the
Oh my
Joker
god.
in real life. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like, and it's sad to say that like I kind of prefer her to be the president at this point. Like, you know what, lefties, you got to win on this one. I'd prefer if the crazy black lady who locked up everyone while she was a senator.
I don't know.
Her previous job was a senator, I think, either senator or congressperson. Um,
Senator. She was a
so
senator of something. I forget.
yeah, I think California. Yeah. So I kind of prefer her at this point in term like just because she's crazy. Imagine Russia trying to put up with her. Like she just laugh at them.
So how long do you think this Russian-Ukraine thing is going to last?
Um, it's kind of hard to tell because um,
I think they're moving pretty quickly, actually.
They are, but
They're like not far
the
from the
thing is
capital.
that Putin's army, Ukraine's army doesn't really have a chance.
No,
It's sad to say
does
because
not.
Russia's got that large,
Big ass
badass
army.
army. there's, 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 there's no way Ukraine's winning this if there's no outside intervention. I'm not advocating for outside intervention. I'm just saying it's hard to see a scenario where, unless literally Ukraine provides every single person, not even eligible, every single person with a gun, that I don't see a way of Ukraine making it out of this.
Yeah. There was a funny meme where it's like, oh, the U.S. is like, I'll give you, guns, and then the English is like, oh, I'll give you, bow and arrows, and it's like, oh, I'll give you this, and then you just let Ukraine fight off alone. It's like you have all
Exactly,
these
right.
countries
Like,
like backing you up, but they're not really backing you up.
right. And I actually saw a great clip. I said that Ukraine needs to provide everyone with guns. They're actually starting to do this. I don't know how far along in the process they are, but
Yeah,
a
all their
CNN
citizens with
analyst,
guns
they're giving all their citizens, like, it's official. Okay, so
in Ukraine.
yeah,
Yeah, they
they're
want.
giving
Yeah,
everyone. So I saw a CNN, like a clip from CNN, which I don't watch CNN. God forbid I watch CNN, but I saw a meme, a clip of one of the CNN analysts. Like, he had someone, he was interviewing someone from Ukraine, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to start providing everyone with guns. And then it's like, that's the moment you realize why the Second Amendment is real. Like, in
I mean, the
case,
Second Amendment's not even for fighting other countries. I mean,
right,
the
it's
Second
fighting our
Amendment
own, but that's it.
is for your own.
But it's the same concept.
You're right, which is one of the reasons why they say America is so hard to conquer, is because,
Exactly.
first of all, America is separated by two oceans, okay, the
Right.
Pacific and the Atlantic. And second is that even if you do get to land, you have to deal with 300 million citizens that own like 10 to 20 guns each.
Well, as much as I would want that to be the case, unfortunately, it's not. Not everyone owns a gun here.
You're right. Well, maybe
So
half of that. But anyways, but
right,
you get the point.
right. So, like, that's why. I mean, if the past 3 years have shown us anything, it's why the Second Amendment is probably the second most important amendment, which is fair because it's the Second Amendment. Um, the past, the BLM riots, where people were literally walking into houses and just taking what they wanted and literally hurting people, just whoever they wanted.
But yeah,
That was where huge gun ownership in America skyrocketed, absolutely shot through the roof. And then this Russia-Ukraine situation is even more of an indicator. It's the other reason. The BLM riots were saying, hey, the police aren't always there for you. That's why the Second Amendment is important. The Ukraine versus Russia situation, the World War III that we have going on, is the other reason. Is the other big reason. It's saying, hey, a government might try and take you over, whether it's a foreign one or your own. You need a way of defending yourself from them. So yeah, it's just great seeing the pro Second Amendment side of the argument getting a couple free throws in. It's good to see. And I just wanted to end on one more little tidbit, just to, unless you had something else to say about that.
No, go on.
So another little piece of news was Cenk Uygur, however you say his name, of the Young Turks. You familiar?
Is he like the bigger one?
He's the big dude.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean that in several ways. He's the big
Okay.
dude over there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Hey, come on, it's bullshit. Like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said he tweeted that he said that the Republicans like Putin because he's white, not just because he's an authoritarian dictator. And he got absolutely blasted on Twitter. We don't like, we, as in I'm including myself in a group of people that I don't necessarily agree with. People on the right don't like Putin. That's the end of the sentence. It's not, we don't like Putin because blank. We don't like Putin because this. we don't like Putin. This is the craziest thing that's ever been said.
I saw a
ever.
really funny Twitter post by a comedian. He's like, because all this is happening with Putin and attacking Ukraine. So he tweeted, he's like, have we checked Putin's old tweets? It's like, oh, if we could just go back and look at his old tweets, we could find something and then cancel like Putin. It's like,
right, yeah, exactly.
just
Imagine if you could just cancel Putin.
It's like making fun of the fact. It's like, yeah, that would work.
Oh, that's perfect. Why don't we just cancel Putin? That's a great idea.
Yeah, like, guys, let's go check his old tweets, and yeah, that will definitely make a difference.
And it's just like these people on Twitter live in another world. They think what they say makes a difference. It's sad to see. Sometimes I give up on the world a little bit. Yeah,
but sometimes there's hope.
So. Yeah. So anything else?
Anyways, no. Anyways, we wish the safety of everyone in Ukraine.
Of course, everyone in Ukraine
to end soon. Yeah. So with that,
yeah. So all right. So that's this week's episode. Tune in on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button so you can get notifications when we post new episodes. And tune in on wherever you get your audio podcasts. We hope you have a good rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.